cut ties with my sister after she seduced my husband and told me to mind my own business. But I'm 36 and have been divorced for 3 years. My ex-husband, Caleb, 36, cheated on me with my sister, Elisa, 32, while we were married, and that's what destroyed my relationship with Caleb. We met through friends at a party when we were 25 and started dating then. We were together for 3 years before he proposed, and we got married. We lived together for about 5 years before I found out he was cheating on me with my sister. Caleb and Elisa first met when I invited him home for dinner, about 6 or 7 months into our relationship. By then, we were serious and decided to introduce our families. I already knew his family, especially his parents, since he has no siblings, and I come from a large family. Our eldest brother, Eric, is 40 and now the only family member I still communicate with. When I first brought Caleb home for dinner, everyone liked him, but he made the biggest impression on Elisa. They realized they had a lot in common: favorite shows, books, even food tastes, and instantly hit it off. I thought it was sweet and never imagined how it would all turn out. They became good friends, and I was happy Caleb got along so well with my family. I also had a good relationship with Elisa then, as we were closer in age than to Chris. Elisa and I sometimes went on double dates with our partners and had a good time. She had casual relationships, bringing a new boyfriend to every date. She even joked that it was a shame Caleb didn't have a brother because she might date him sometimes. She often said Caleb was the perfect man and how lucky I was, but I always took it as a compliment, never giving it much thought. I was sure she was just praising Caleb. I saw no hints because I trusted and loved her too much. It never crossed my mind she could actually fall for him. When Caleb proposed and we got married, no one was happier than Elisa. She was even the maid of honor. So you can imagine how painful it was when, after 5 years of marriage, I found out they had slept together behind my back. If you want to know whether there were any signs, no. Nothing pointed to it. I trusted Elisa and Caleb more than anyone in the world. In my mind, they just couldn't hurt me. I was certain of that. For 5 years, Caleb and I had calm and stable relationships. Sure, there were minor disagreements, like he wanted kids and I wasn't ready yet, or he wanted me to work less, which was impossible because I earned more than him. Our lifestyle directly depended on my income. He thought I was too career-focused and wanted me to be more relaxed. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't explain that we both needed to work hard to live stably. For context, I'm an investment banker, which is a demanding job. Caleb works in marketing, and he's good at it but not as devoted to his work as I am to mine. I truly love my job because it helps me achieve my dreams. So why should I work less? As for why I didn't want kids, the answer is simple: I wasn't morally or emotionally ready to be a mother. I believe it's better not to do something at all than to do it badly, especially when it comes to parenting. I was afraid of having a child and then regretting it. I was clear about this from the start, but he somehow decided I'd change my mind right after the wedding. These two topics were the main sources of conflict between us. Like any couple, we had minor fights, but we always resolved them. Even after big fights, we made up because we believed in our relationship, or at least I thought so. Now I realize we were probably never on the same wavelength. But despite the fights, we always made up. He constantly showed me love, even a week before I found out about the affair. I never had a reason to doubt his faithfulness because Caleb gave me no reason to. However, a week after our 5th wedding anniversary, I found out he was cheating on me with Elisa. Even on our anniversary day, he was sweet to me at a party, pretending I was his whole world. But everything changed sharply when I learned the truth. A few days after the anniversary, I was rummaging through my closet looking for something but couldn't find it. I decided to check Caleb's closet. I don't remember exactly what I was looking for, but I had an important event coming up, and I was trying to find a particular jacket. I thought maybe I accidentally hung it in Caleb's closet. While looking, I found a bag hidden at the very back. Curious, I took it out and started looking inside. To my horror, it was full of women's clothes. Going through a few pieces, I realized I'd seen them before. They were Elisa's clothes. I couldn't understand what was happening. I was in complete shock and confusion, with no logical explanation. I decided to check his phone for the first time because until then, I trusted him completely, as he did me. We never gave each other reasons to suspect anything. But at that moment, I felt I had to do it. Even if I had just asked him about the clothes, he would have had time to come up with an excuse, so I went straight for it. I knew his phone password and accessed his private messages. Of course, the chat with Elisa was there. At first, it looked innocent, but when I scrolled up, I saw how they communicated. Friends don't talk like that. They flirted, exchanged intimate messages, and arranged meetings. That explained all his late work nights. I realized their affair had probably lasted a couple of months. As luck would have it, that same day, Elisa came to our house for lunch, so they were both at my home at the same time. I confronted them face to face, showed the messages and the bag of clothes I found in Calip's closet, and demanded explanations. Instead of apologizing or even trying to deny it, they simply said it was none of my business and that I shouldn't interfere in their relationship. I was shocked by that response. If my husband cheats on me with my own sister, it's definitely my business. I couldn't hold back and yelled at both of them, but instead of reacting, they just pretended nothing special had happened. Calip even had the audacity to tell me that since I didn't have a child for him and didn't spend enough time with him, which was especially hypocritical since neither of us was ready to give up the expensive lifestyle that, by the way, I provided, he had to look elsewhere. And with Elisa, he had great understanding. Elisa added that I should be glad he stayed with the family and didn't cheat with someone else, because then it would have been even more shameful for me. They said they weren't going to end their affair, and now that I knew everything, there was no point in hiding it anymore. Before, they kept it secret to avoid drama, waiting for Elisa's promotion so she could move away, and Calip would follow her. But now she was okay with telling everything and just ending it. It was disgusting, and I still don't understand how I survived it all. After the truth came out, there was nothing left to discuss. Those two felt no guilt at all, and I wasn't going to forgive them. I decided to file for divorce. When I told my parents, they immediately stopped communicating with Elisa, and Eric also cut all ties with her. The whole family completely disowned her. Surprisingly, no one suffered because of it. A couple of weeks later, Elisa moved to Pennsylvania, 9 hours drive from here. 3 months later, after the divorce was finalized, Calip followed her. He didn't contest the divorce or file any counterclaims, leaving everything to me. I think he decided that since Elisa got a promotion and a better salary, he didn't need to worry about money, my assets, or possible alimony. He just wanted to end everything quickly, and I'm glad it turned out that way. It allowed me to close that chapter fast. Since then, neither I nor anyone in our family has had any contact with her. We don't know where she is or what she's doing, and we don't care. My friends who are still subscribed to her or talk to her know not to mention this to me. In short, I have no idea what's happening in her life. It's been 3 years, but I'm still trying to recover. They broke me completely. However, a few days ago, it all resurfaced when Calip contacted me again. He called from an unknown number, and without much thought, I answered. The moment I heard his voice, I knew I should have hung up. But curiosity got the better of me. His voice sounded desperate and anxious, and he got straight to the point. Calip called to ask me for help. Bold, considering we hadn't spoken in 3 years and had parted on bad terms, to say the least. He could have at least apologized first, but no. He went straight to the point. He said that a few weeks ago, Elisa had been in a car accident and couldn't move. Both her legs were broken, and her arms were bruised. After the accident, they also had a 2-year-old son who needed care. He explained that he had already asked friends for help, but they were all busy and didn't want to take on such a big responsibility. He couldn't manage on his own because he needed to work more now. Since Elisa was bedridden for a long time and needed care, taking care of both the little child and Elisa was too much for him. They even thought about hiring a full-time caregiver, but it was too expensive given the upscale neighborhood they lived in. That's why they turned to family. First, they called my parents, but they said they were too old, though they claimed if they were younger, they would have helped. My former in-laws weren't an option either. The father-in-law died a year ago, and the mother-in-law lives in Canada with her sister. They also called Eric, but he said he didn't want anything to do with them. They didn't consider other relatives close enough to trust them with their son's care, especially in such a situation. In desperation, Calip literally begged me to help him. After all these years of holding back my pain and resentment, I finally had a moment to respond. After he told me everything, I simply said I couldn't help because it wasn't my business. Then I hung up and blocked his number without going into details. Eric thinks I did the right thing, but my parents disagree. They believe it's been 3 years and I should have forgotten everything, especially considering what Elisa is going through now. I don't understand what they're talking about. They think I'm stubborn because I refuse to help, but I find the very idea that my parents expect this from me absurd after everything Calip and Elisa did to me. I do feel sorry for the child, but that's not my problem. My parents insist I'm a stubborn, selfish person and that I should have at least thought things over before refusing. A few days have passed, and now they're pressuring me, which makes me unsure if I did the right thing. Update 1. First of all, thank you all so much for the comments on my post. I appreciate that you took the time to write something. Now, about my decision, I haven't changed my mind. I still stay away from their affairs, as they once asked me to. Let my parents think whatever they want about me. I don't care. They have no right to decide whether I should let go of the situation or not. I was hurt, and only I decide how to deal with it. They can't tell me what to do, I'm the only one who decides. Yes, I feel sorry for their son, but again, he's not my child and not my problem. If my parents are so worried, they should take responsibility and care for their grandson themselves. They make excuses about their age, they're just over 60. They live normal lives, and nothing terrible would happen if they had to watch the grandson for a couple of months. I'm sure they could help, but they just don't want to. It's easier for them to dump it on me. When I told my parents I wouldn't change my mind, they said they were cutting ties with me too, called me selfish, and said they couldn't believe I would do that even though Elisa suffered so much. I don't see what's so incredible about this. These people betrayed me once already. It's simple, I don't think I did anything wrong. I haven't talked to Eric about all this yet, but I'm sure he'll be on my side as always. He's a bit busy at work right now, working on a new project, so it'll be a few more days before we have a proper talk. For now, I'm comfortable with my decision. I don't know what will happen with Elisa, Caleb, and their son, but I sincerely hope they find a solution for the child. That's not my concern. So before we move on to the next update, I suggest you write in the comments whether you think the heroine is doing the right thing or if she should do something else and take the child in. What would you do in this situation? Maybe you think family is truly above all. Update 2. Hi everyone. It's been a week and a half since Caleb tried to contact me. I blocked him then, and he hasn't bothered me since. But I heard from Eric that he's now persistently trying to reach him. Even Elisa texts Eric, but he ignores all their messages and just leaves them unread. A couple of days ago, Eric and I talked. He said he also decided to cut ties with our parents because they behave extremely unreasonably and selfishly. It's ironic because that's exactly what they accuse me of. Well, now that they lost Eric, they still have a chance to rebuild relations with Elisa, but I don't think they'll take responsibility for her child. It's unlikely because my parents are the kind of people who say they love their close ones but won't lift a finger for them. I've seen that with Eric's kids. I won't go into detail, but a few years ago, Eric's eldest son broke his wrist falling at a playground when he was about 4. Eric was having business problems then and asked our parents to lend some money for a physical therapist. After the cast was removed, they suddenly refused, saying they needed to save for retirement and don't just give money away. Eric took it respectfully and didn't bring it up again, not wanting to seem pushy. But to me, they behaved like jerks, so it doesn't surprise me at all they're not helping their grandson now. I didn't expect anything else and just hope that when Eric and Elisa eventually cut their parents off, the parents will understand that if they think their children aren't entitled to ask for help, they're also not entitled to demand contact with their grandchildren whenever they please. But that's just my opinion. No matter how much I hated Elisa, I still hope that things work out for all of them in the end. Update 3. This update will be quite long. Almost 2 months have passed since I found out Elisa was in an accident. She and Caleb haven't contacted me directly, but I keep in touch with Eric, who keeps me updated. I told him I don't mind if he corresponds with Elisa and replies to her messages because honestly, I was uneasy about the whole thing myself. Yes, I don't like Elisa, that's true, and I can't stand Caleb, but I'm not so heartless as to wish them harm. Their 2-year-old son isn't to blame for all the crap they caused in the past, so I asked Eric to stay in touch and help if needed. Yes, they're awful people, but that doesn't mean I have to stoop to their level. I've already gotten moral satisfaction from refusing to help them, and that's enough for me. So I supported the idea that Eric communicate with them, at least so I could be calm knowing my nephew was okay. That's really the only thing that matters to me. 2 weeks ago, Eric finally contacted them and asked how they were doing. Elisa said everything was bad. They had to put their son in daycare because there was no other way, but it was a big hit to their budget since the neighborhood they live in is expensive. Commuting there and back for several hours every day wasn't an option. Caleb had to work, and Elisa couldn't do anything on her own. They also started falling behind on rent, which risked eviction. They were only spared because the landlord was sympathetic to Elisa's condition and gave them a couple of months' grace period. But then they'd have to pay, and she had no idea where to get that kind of money. She asked our parents for help, but they refused again, saying they needed to save for the future. I understand that maybe they're afraid of future medical expenses or something else, but that doesn't mean we'll never get the money back. Eric, Elisa, and I have never been like that. I don't understand why our parents always get so suspicious and weird about money when it comes to their own children, like we're some thieves or scammers. But this time, when the parents refused to help, Elisa snapped and said that this time she was cutting ties with them and would never talk to them again. No matter how I feel about Caleb and Elisa, I think they did the right thing. They're toxic, but so are our parents. It's surprising how normal people like me and Eric even came from such a family. Anyway, now the parents definitely won't have access to their grandchildren for several years, and they'll only have themselves to blame. In fact, now they don't even have access to their own children. I don't talk to them. Eric stopped communicating, and now Elisa did too. They're alone, and I can't say they don't deserve it. I don't pity them at all. Eric and I discussed the situation with Elisa and Caleb, and I told him I wouldn't mind if he decided to help them. My conscience wouldn't allow me to stand in his way. Sorry, but I personally can't get involved. I plan to stay out of it, but I won't stop others if they want to help. Eric also said he hasn't talked to Elisa yet because what she did to me was too cruel. But now it's hard for him to stay angry at her despite everything. She's in a very tough spot, and as her older brother, he can't just sit back and watch his nephew suffer. He knows for sure that Elisa's son is emotionally struggling with everything happening. We decided Eric will send them money every month until they get back on their feet. Honestly, I'm glad he's doing this because I know when Eric himself was struggling, no one stood up for him. Our parents did nothing. And Elisa and I tried to help, though we weren't in the best financial situation compared to our well-off parents. I don't want to sound like someone who thinks parents owe everything to their children, but they really could have helped and didn't. While Elisa and I aren't philanthropists, we still tried. So now it's probably fair if Eric pays her back and supports her despite everything she's done. My main concern has always been my nephew. Now that this issue is settled, I can finally stop thinking about the whole situation. To be honest, I just don't want anything to do with Elisa or Caleb anymore. I genuinely feel sorry for what happened to them, but now I want to live peacefully. I think this was the closure I needed. Even during the divorce, I didn't feel it was truly over, but now I do. From this moment, I plan to focus on my work and my life, improve myself, and stop worrying about others. I no longer have to deal with toxic people. I'm not in contact with my parents anymore, and that suits me perfectly. I'm free, and I have many things ahead worth living for, so I will manage. Thank you so much for following my story and supporting me.